and I certainly hope everyone is doing well. Now, tonight's live stream is going to be fairly short because I pulled up. I'm just getting back home, right? Pulling up, and it is thundering outside. Okay, so I don't know how badly the storm is going to get, but anyway, I don't know how bad it's going to get, but who knows, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just get started here, and hopefully it won't get too bad outside, and we can go for at least an hour. Okay, again, welcome everyone who is on this live stream, and everyone who will be watching later. Thank you so much. And everyone, of course, who has been supporting the Luminousz Ztarr channel. Thank you guys and gals so much, all of my subscribers. And if you have recently subscribed, thank you very much and welcome to the Luminousz Ztarr channel. And I want to go ahead and welcome everyone who has become a new member. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. There is a slide presentation link in the chat. So go ahead and look out for that. And if you're going to be watching this later, check the description box below for the link to the slide. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about focusing on your growth, right? Now, a lot of us, and I'm going to go ahead and just say this, but a lot of us have been dealing with narcissists or cluster B personality types in our lives who have been threatened by the growth, right? They may have noticed this, but then, when the threat starts, sometimes they may claim narcissistic injury. Okay, so I'm going to get into that a little bit, but hopefully you all are focusing on your growth at this time. Okay, so topics of discussion: grooming process by a narcissistic personality, narcissists lack core values, okay, and how narcissistic codependent relationships compromise health, signs of outgrowing narcissistic relationships, and then I'm going to get into the tools. Okay, so hopefully, again, everybody is doing okay. And I don't know how the weather is where you are, but I can still hear some thundering outside. It hasn't started raining yet, but hopefully it won't get too bad outside so we can go for about an hour. Or maybe more, depending on how things go, right? Okay, so the grooming process. The silent treatments leading to alienation and isolation. Now, I did a live stream and I did a couple of videos recently talking about the backhanded silent treatment, which can lead to alienation, okay? And then a person may respond to the silent treatment by going into isolation, or they may isolate themselves because they may start to lose confidence in maintaining their relationships or maybe starting new relationships. So during the grooming process, a narcissist may start to use silent treatment as a tactic to obtain source supply or maintain source supply. Because sometimes narcissists, they're about the dominance in the relationship. They're about the control, right? Okay, so also the smear campaigning. Sometimes they will spread rumors. Sometimes they would deceive other people into perhaps looking at you in a way that maybe is not so nice. So they may start telling lies about you in order to maintain or obtain control. So then also during the grooming process, they may also start to use gaslighting techniques. And this is where the neuro-linguistic programming may come in. In other words, they may start to play with your mind or play mind tricks, right? So the silent treatments, the backhanded silent treatments, sometimes a narcissist would go ahead and start to try to make a person feel alienated, or they may start to alienate them. Sometimes they will recruit flying monkeys to help them to alienate those that they target for source supply. Okay, so who has time for that? Especially now with everything going on, nobody has time for that. A lot of people right now, they're stressed. They don't need to be worrying about what the narcissist needs or wants at this time. Okay, because the narcissist, at the end of the day, they want the source supply. And who has time for that right now? Perhaps you have goals. Perhaps you have objectives. Perhaps you have priorities and responsibilities of your own, right? Who has time to be, worried about what the narcissist wants? But if you should start to feel lonely, right, because of the things that are going on in the relationship with a narcissist, this is actually a natural response to the experience. It really is. But of course, at the time, I think a lot of people wouldn't really think about that, right? Because they're too busy feeling lonely. They're too busy feeling pain and perhaps even anger because of some of the shenanigans that have been pulled. But a person can start to isolate themselves because they may not feel like they can have another relationship with somebody else other than the narcissist. Some people are experiencing narcissistic personality with those in their family. So, that's the first group that a person is introduced to when they come on the planet. So if they feel like they can't really get along there, they may feel like when they go out into the world, they really cannot get along with anyone. And it's not for lack of trying. It's not from a lack of wanting to have relationships. It's just that, the first group, they didn't do so well. Or because they were dealing with the narcissist, they felt a lack of confidence in their ability to have positive relationships. So isolation and alienation is something that goes on a lot during the grooming process when a narcissist is not getting their way, okay? Or when they're trying to have their way. They're trying to have their cake and eat it too. And then when they smear campaign, right? This is often when they will start to feel, or they will call, or they will claim, they'll claim narcissistic injury. And when they claim the narcissistic injury, they're not, of course, thinking about the aftermath. They're too busy salivating over what they think they're going to get from trying to control the other person or those that they target for source supply. If those that they target for source supply start to show signs of outgrowing the relationship, then the narcissist will feel threatened more than likely. And they may start to smear campaign. And that leads right on into, and before I even get to the gaslighting technique, sometimes they will recruit flying monkeys and or enablers in order to chime in. And this also leads to a person perhaps feeling alienated, and then they may isolate themselves. But see, narcissists, they also like to isolate people that they're targeting for source supply. This way they will feel in control. Narcissists often have a strong sense of what? Not only entitlement, but control. They feel like they're invincible. They feel like they can rule the world, especially your world, especially those that they target for source supply. And if this is a family situation, more than likely they will feel like they're the head of, sometimes they literally are the head of the household. But even if they aren't, they may feel and see themselves as a person that's controlling everyone. They may see themselves like the puppet master, and everybody else is the puppet. And that can go on to any group that they may be in. The narcissists, often when they are dealing with groups, they like to be the head honcho. But those who show signs of not cooperating with him or her or co-signing, the narcissist may feel threatened. Their false self may feel threatened at that time. Okay? And then the mask may start to crack if they start pulling shenanigans that may have them looking, a little crazy or a little cray. Or they may start to look like, they're losing control. But they're trying to maintain or obtain control. So they may start to become a little sloppy in their actions, or they're pulling shenanigans. So then that leads us to the gaslighting technique, right? The neuro-linguistic programming. So when they start to gaslight, this is a reflection of them losing control, because then they feel like they have to move to that. Anytime a person starts to show growth, the narcissist will feel threatened more than likely. So they will, stop at nothing. Well, they will do just about anything to obtain or maintain source supply or control. Because, I mentioned this a lot of times in my videos. I mentioned this in previous live streams, how this goes double for a covert narcissist. When the narcissist is looking at control, they equate that with source supply. So if they're losing control, right, or they sense or they perceive that they're losing control, then they may equate that to them losing supply. And then they may start to become a little sloppy in their efforts to obtain or regain control. And this sometimes is when the mask may slip off. And this is also the time that some people, if they didn't know who the narcissist was before, they're surely going to find out now. Okay? And that also means people who are on the outside looking in. But, narcissists, they're very crafty at camouflaging their intentions, their hidden agendas from those on the outside. Okay, so, I've had a video I did a video about, I think maybe a couple of years ago, where I was talking about the serpentine ways of a narcissist. Or, they're very, slick like that, right? When they're trying to obtain a source supply. So during the grooming process, this is all these things are going on here. There's more, but I want to really point out the most important ones, or the ones from my experience has been the most prominent ones. And that is silent treatments. When they're not getting their way, they're going to go to that. They're going to try to shut you down. Okay, then they don't want to talk. They don't want to hear. They don't want to listen. They don't want to communicate. So they'll move to the silent treatment in order to try to control the other person. And unfortunately, the other person's response may be to isolate themselves because they have lost confidence. And then, if the person may still show a little bit of strength, they may not be cracking enough for the narcissist, they may start the smear campaign. Then they may start to recruit flying monkeys in order to break the person down and try to, bust through the wall, okay, of the personal boundaries. And then the gaslighting techniques. Okay? So, all right. 5 things to never expect from a narcissist, right? What are they? Yeah. The validation, responsibility, apology, closure, and empathy. So, if a person is waiting for the narcissist to help them gain closure, they're probably going to be waiting for a long time. Okay, narcissists, they tend not to do closure. Sometimes they intentionally leave a relationship with things unsaid and undone. This way, they have a way of getting back in or hoovering a person back in, should they choose to do so later on. And then there's the, empathy. A lot of people who have done research on narcissism, they have found out that the narcissistic personality, one of the traits anyway, is a lack of empathy. So this is something that most people will not experience from a narcissist, or when dealing with a narcissist. They will not see the narcissist expressing any empathy. They often, express anger, jealousy, things of this sort, low vibrational emotions. And apology. Narcissists often do not apologize for pulling shenanigans that may leave others, hurt, angry, disheveled, or falling from grace. Responsibility. Narcissists often do not hold themselves accountable for the shenanigans that they pull. So all of these things here, don't ever expect these things from a narcissist, right? Because they're not going to do these things, because all of these things, should a narcissist by some miracle express any of these or do any of these, is only because they think they're going to end up with supply. The narcissist's main objective is source supply. Okay, so again, by some miracle, if they should, apologize, it's only because they may see an angle in getting the source supply, i.e. controlling others, okay? Controlling them, dominating a relationship, manipulating, deceiving, and all these things. Okay, so narcissistic behavior can reflect a lack of core values. The energy vampirism is what comes to my mind. So what I'm saying here is the narcissist will do just about anything in order to obtain the source supply. When narcissists move to penetrate a person's energy field or their energy body, the person will often feel drained of energy after that, okay? A lot of people, myself included, has experienced a drainage of energy, okay? Now, the narcissist cannot take the energy body, but they can certainly affect it in order to obtain source supply or while obtaining source supply. Some people misconstrue that. They think that the narcissist can actually snatch their energy, like the body snatchers, right? No, they can affect the energy body in attempts to obtain source supply. So they will leave a person feeling drained of their own energy. And another thing that some people misconstrue or may not realize, right, is that narcissists have their own energy body. The narcissist doesn't lack energy. They're very greedy, right? They want so much supply. So when they're dealing with people, they often tap into their energy field and they extract. The narcissist's energy body often contracts. Okay, so when they start to tap into the energy field of other people, then they feel perhaps full. Just picture somebody filling up their gas tank at the gas station. They're filling up the tank. Narcissists often will go and they will penetrate the energy body of others and they will extract from it. This is often why people feel drained, because the narcissist, whatever they're coming with, they don't tend to add to the quality of life. Okay, they don't tend to add to the quality of another person's life. I'll put it like that. They often come to take. This is often why they move to what? Use people for pawns. But the narcissists, when they are being regarded as energy vampires, this is why. Because when a person experiences him or her, they often feel drained. This is quite different from a person feeling relaxed around someone to the point where they may feel a little tired after they deal with the person. Some people you deal with, you may feel energized, right? They inspire you, they motivate you. But with a narcissist or one who has a narcissistic personality, very often we feel drained. People report this all the time. I've experienced this. Okay, so energy vampirism comes to mind because this is a reflection of the narcissist lacking core values. You may value honesty. Narcissistic personality often doesn't value honesty, integrity, leadership. They don't value these things. But what they do care about at the end of the day is the narcissistic, the source supply. So calling out the narcissistic injury tactic. When the narcissist is feeling threatened, they may move to the narcissistic injury tactic in order to regain control. The control or the source supply that they think they're losing or they feel that they're losing. So they may perceive a threat which is often not even reflective of reality. And after they do this, they're not thinking about how they possibly have injured or caused damage to those that they target for source supply. So it's kind of like the flip side of the narcissistic injury. Narcissists often will claim narcissistic injury, yet they're not looking at the flip side or the other side or the person's side that they are targeting for source supply. They're not looking at the damages or the injury, okay, that they're causing another person, all in order to get source supply. So again, this is reflecting a lack of core values. At the end of the day, what does the narcissist really care about? Source supply. The more the better, at all costs, by any means necessary. That's what it seems to be. I mean, from my personal experience, it just seems that that's the case. So this is why I say that when a narcissist operates or functions as an energy vampire, it's almost like they lack morals. They will stop at nothing, or they will do just about anything to obtain the source supply. And this often leaves people drained or feeling like they have been had, played, or violated in some way, shape, or form. Okay, automatically, when a person is involved with a narcissist or one who has a narcissistic personality, or even a cluster B personality, okay, so their overall health, overall well-being is compromised. So let's break this down. Emotional health, compromised. Mental health, compromised. Spiritual balance, compromised. Psychic ability may be compromised. Financial stability also could be compromised. So again, a person's overall well-being is often, well, compromised, right? When they're dealing with a narcissist, when they find themselves perhaps in an environment that may facilitate what? Narcissistic, narcissistic factors. The workplace comes to mind. Narcissistic factors may be in that environment. From my personal experience, the workforce can be a rewarding place because you're working on projects where you're getting paid too, but also the workforce is not really designed to give a person a peace of mind. This is why, you go home and you relax, but when you go back to work, well, you already know it's a different story, but you got to pay the bills, right? Right. Okay? Or you may have some financial goals. So you have to go and get the money. You have to be able to, you have to work. You have to do something to bring in the income or have multiple streams of income. But when dealing with a narcissist, a person could end up in debt. They may not have the financial stability that they once had. Okay, the narcissist comes in, again, they're draining people of not only energy, but perhaps even finances. A person could end up in debt. This goes for male and female. It doesn't matter. Male and female narcissists, it doesn't matter. They can leave a person financially unstable or suffering or experiencing debt. And this can go on for a long time. Psychic ability. Now, before I get to that, the financial stability, there's one more thing I want to say about that. Narcissists, sometimes they have money stashed away. They have their own money, but they want to drain other people's pockets or pocketbooks or accounts, all for narcissistic supply. Sometimes it's for sport, that they will financially affect someone else. Sometimes it may give them a sense of power that they can do this or affect someone in that way. So, don't get it twisted. Don't make any mistakes. Sometimes narcissists, matter of fact, I'm going to say most of the time, they have money of their own. But because they have a strong sense of entitlement, they want your money too. Psychic ability. Sometimes narcissists will psychically attack others. Sometimes they don't know that they're doing this. Okay, sometimes they may be aware of it. Sometimes they may try to perform sex magic. Okay, so if you guys have, disclaimer here, if you have younger children around, cover their ears. Okay, probably should have said that before I started the live stream. But psychic ability, they may perform certain things in order to play with the mind of the other person. So the psychic ability and the spiritual balance kind of go hand in hand. Because once the narcissist starts to pull certain shenanigans that may play with or toy with the mind of those that they target for source supply, well, they may psychically attack him or her. Okay, the person may start to question their sanity, their reality. So this is very serious. Okay, so the psychic ability is something that is also compromised. A person may be highly intuitive. They may be a hyoka empathic. Okay, highly intuitive. But dealing with a narcissist, that may become a little shaky. They may not have a lot of confidence in their ability to be what you would call a psychic or have psychic abilities, right? The spiritual balance may come into question. Some people speak of feeling energy leakages. They talk about the chakras and these sorts of things. So dealing with a narcissist can compromise all of that. A person can go from feeling balanced and stable to the opposite. Okay? Not feeling so balanced, not feeling so stable. And they may have tangible evidence to prove that they have lost some stability. They have lost some balance, or they're no longer balanced in some way, shape, or form. So the psychic ability is not to be overlooked. Some people are reporting suffering from flashbacks. This is where the symptoms of PTSD may come in, symptoms of complex PTSD, all behind dealing with the narcissistic relationship, the narcissistic codependent relationship. There are often signs of codependency in narcissistic relationships. Okay, so don't sleep on the psychic ability being, becoming impaired or changing. This doesn't mean a person cannot recover and get it back, but it's very important to be cognizant of how the narcissist can affect such things. Not because they're bigger and better and they're more powerful. Absolutely not. Narcissists actually show a lot of weaknesses, but they tend to camouflage it because they're lying or they are deceptive. And unfortunately, they get other people to buy into it. Perhaps at one time you bought into it, right? But the psychic ability is something to look a little bit more closely at, because this also means that a person may not trust their own intuition. They may not be able to pay close attention to the information that's coming into them from a higher power, okay? And the narcissists, they're eating that up. A lot of the times the narcissist wants to be the center of a person's mental or their mind. And this does not exclude their psychic abilities. This does not exclude their ability to be highly intuitive or trusting their own instinct and or intuition. The narcissist likes to come in and bust all of that up. This also goes into how they are able to knock down the walls of a person's personal boundaries. Some people, they practice personal boundaries and respect personal boundaries, but a narcissist, sometimes when they're grooming a person, they tend to knock that wall down. But of course, they have to use certain methods to do this, certain tactics. But before they do this, before a narcissist moves to engaging in the diabolical tactics, they will study a person first. Find out what their vices are and all this kind of stuff, right? Sometimes they will hijack a person's consciousness. Okay, now I know that sounds kind of serious, but that just goes into them playing with the mind. So this is where the psychic ability can come in the spiritual balance. Once a narcissist penetrates the mind of a person, they can also move through the gateway to the spiritual or the spirituality of a person. Okay? Their spiritual body and these sorts of things. This is also why the chakras may become imbalanced, or some people have testified that they have experienced energy leakages from their chakras. Okay? So the mental health, of course, this is something that a lot of us have experienced. Some people have become mentally challenged. Some people have, unfortunately, behind dealing with narcissistic relationships, they have experienced mental imbalance. Okay? So this is nothing to be ashamed of, but I know there are stigmas behind this. But the emotional health is also compromised. So just want to go ahead and point these things out, because a lot of people right now are experiencing their health, their overall well-being being compromised due to dealing with the narcissist or a cluster B personality type or personality types who have not, they're not getting any treatment, or they're not managing their personality or how they tend to interact with other personalities. Okay, so overall health is often compromised. So signs of growth after narcissist relationships, right? Accepting. When a person starts to accept that they're outgrowing the relationship, this is huge. Very huge. Because now they're becoming the catalyst of change. And they didn't even try, right? They just maybe they discovered this along their journey while they're growing, while they're demonstrating their growth, which is also a sign of accepting that they're outgrowing the narcissistic codependent relationship. Because now they're doing things without the permission of the narcissist. Perhaps some of you have felt like you had to get the narcissist's permission before doing something that you enjoy. I mean, it could be something as simple as, I don't know, going to art class, going to take guitar lessons, or, something, going swimming or something like that. Perhaps you felt locked down by the narcissist, and perhaps you were walking on eggshells, and you felt like, you were looking over your shoulders every 5 seconds, because the narcissist was just gonna, dismantle anything good you had going. But now that you've accepted that you are outgrowing the narcissistic codependent relationship, now you're perhaps feeling more confident that you can do more things in life. Perhaps you're taking classes now on financial, becoming financially literate, for instance. Just example. Perhaps you're going back to school now. Perhaps you are taking up another trade so you can bring in some more money. Perhaps you're going into business for yourself, right? So that way you can have multiple streams of income. So that way, if you're contemplating going no contact, you're set, you're ready. You've strategized the strategy. You've planned the planning, right? So then you can make your move, should you contemplate that. But acceptance is very huge. That's one of the things you want to look for. That's going to, let you know, hey, I'm outgrowing this relationship. Narcissists will often sense that as a threat, and they may move to the narcissistic rage tactics, or they may move to claiming narcissistic injury without even thinking about the aftermath of it, right? So, one of the most important aspects of breaking free from narcissistic codependent relationships is the commitment that it will take in order to take chances, right? But then that also means that you're going to probably be committed to making the necessary adjustments that will bring about the necessary change. So this is how you're becoming the catalyst of a much needed change. And, this is not just about you or me. When we start to accept and we start to outgrow these relationships, we're actually affecting other people in a positive way. You never know who's watching you. You never know who's inspired by you. If you're sharing your story, congratulations. Okay? You never know who's going to be inspired by your story. So never belittle that you have had this experience, the narcissistic codependent relationship experience. You know, a lot of people, according to my research, there are millions of people who have been dealing with narcissistic, or I'm going to say narcissism, pathological narcissism, in various forms, not just the relationship, the intimate relationship, right? The workforce, perhaps a business partnership. Millions of people. So don't belittle your experiences. But it's going to take a commitment to make that adjustment. Yeah, it will, in order to continue to focus on thriving forward. But you know, acceptance is powerful, especially while contemplating going no contact, should you do so. Okay? It's hard to accept that you are more than likely to have been groomed to function in such a way as to experience less fulfillment in all of your relationships, especially if you have history of these types of relationships. Because I mentioned before, sometimes after a person has been dealing with narcissists, they may lack the confidence to have positive relationships. They may think it's a pipe dream. You know, adverse childhood experiences can affect your health long after these relationships are over due to the possible occurrence of childhood trauma or issues remaining unresolved, right? The narcissists don't do closure. This is often why they will reenact anything that's painful and unresolved in their life. They'll reenact it in the relationship with others. They will project these things onto others. And sometimes they're not cognizant of it. They're not aware of it. Sometimes they are. But, you know, like I said, you know, some narcissists, they like to dominate the relationship. So this is why sometimes they may be quite aware of what they're doing and what they're setting up that may cause other people grief. So, you know, children who are exposed to pathological narcissism and codependency while growing up, right, with the narcissistic parent or grandparents, they're more likely to have adverse childhood experiences. I say that, you know, children who are exposed to narcissists or narcissism or a pathological narcissism, yeah, that can be considered an adversity. That's an adverse childhood experience, because that can lead to health issues like mental health, emotional health being compromised, right? All sorts of things, complex PTSD, symptoms of PTSD. You know, mental health research shows that children who are abused in any form are exposed to high adversity. So that's just according to the research, you know. As a result, major health issues in the form of physical, emotional, neurological, and psychological, they're often, you know, they're occurring. Trauma occurs too. This is why some people have found that a trauma therapist was the one that can help them. Now, I'm not trying to tell you what type of counselor to go to, but some people have found that a trauma therapist was very helpful. Okay, so from my personal experience, and I've mentioned this in several of my videos, that I have participated in groups. I have had counseling. Now, some people, they frown on counseling, but my personal experience has taught me it's very helpful, but you have to get with the right counselor. But trauma therapy has been very helpful according to research. A lot of people, you know, I've done some research, and a lot of people have claimed and have testified that trauma therapy can be quite helpful. It's challenging, but it can be quite helpful. Some people have dealt with, narcissists, only to find out that the narcissist, you know, they had a substance abuse issue, or they have alcohol issues. It's just not problems with drinking, but they may be full-blown alcoholic. Some people have found that they thought a person was alcoholic, right? They found out that this person had a cluster B personality type, borderline, antisocial, histrionic, or narcissistic. So it's very interesting how some co-occurring conditions, health conditions, medical conditions, can be concealed or camouflaged due to the narcissistic traits. Okay, so passing on the aftermath of trauma from cluster B personality grandparent to parent, okay, onto the children may seem bizarre, unfair, or may even feel like a parallel reality due to a lack of communication, understanding, or empathy. Right? So, the motivation to commit to accepting changes and taking any chances in order to successfully thrive forward, past narcissistic codependent relationships might dwindle or die. And this is what I was talking about, the lack of confidence. A person, 9 times out of 10 chances, their confidence will take a hit, as well as their self-esteem, after dealing with these types of relationships, after dealing with pathological narcissism, after dealing with narcissists, workforce and personal life, or personal life. Okay, so this is pretty serious at times. But the good news is that a lot of people have found the strength to thrive on, to thrive forward. They've chosen to heal. I don't want to jump ahead because I'm going to share some tools with you guys in a minute. But that's the good news. A lot of people are finding the strength to move on, to thrive on. They're choosing to heal regardless of the experience of narcissistic relationships. Okay, so when a person makes the commitment to make necessary changes and take more radical, chances or action, right? They might naturally and spiritually appeal to them to do so. Whereas at first, they may have been terrified to do this, to make that move, because they didn't want to, harm the narcissist, hurt the narcissist, offend the narcissist. Most narcissists, they can't be offended. They like to offend, but they're really not offended. They'll play like they are. See, that's the cold play, especially of a covert narcissist. They'll pretend like they're hurt, and they just can't believe you would say such a thing, or that you would behave in such a way. If it doesn't supply them, right? They just, they may be clutching their pearls. They just can't, believe that you would do such a thing. And then before you know it, they're calling you a narcissist. Okay? So, some people they have experienced this as well. With a narcissist, they will pretend. This also goes into how they will simulate, right, or pretend to be experiencing an authentic emotion when nothing is further from the truth. Narcissists, they lack empathy. They're not interested in connecting with others, not even interested in that. See, it's different when a person is interested in connecting with others, yet they may feel that there's a challenge to do so. But see, with a narcissist, they don't even want the connection. They don't care for it. This sometimes is what confuses some people who deal with narcissists, and they may become afraid that they are a narcissist. They may become afraid that they are becoming like their narcissist. But, this is something to just keep in mind. There is a difference between a person who doesn't even desire the connection, yet they are challenged, right, to make those connections. They want the connection. They're just having a hard time making it happen. So what do? They go to counseling. They participate in groups. They're learning how to do relationships more effectively. It's not about being perfect. Just learning how to relate a lot better. They've been around a narcissist for a long time. Some of that was going to rub off on them. See, this is where the lines become blurred between the parallel reality or the realities The narcissist is experiencing the relationship one way, while those that they target experience the same relationship with him or her differently. So it is very common. It's also a natural response to something that is unnatural. When a person starts to question, am I becoming like the narcissist? Am I a narcissist? See, this is very natural to go there at times. But the narcissist, see, this is the thing that really baffles me. The narcissist never questions if they are a narcissist or not. They never question it. They're so certain that they're bigger than everybody else, that they're 100. They're good. They're perfect. They never question if they are a narcissist or not. They're not concerned. They are not concerned about connecting with others. But when you find that you desire the connection and you're interested, you're open to learning how to connect, then there's your answer. You're not a narcissist. Yet a narcissist often will call somebody a narcissist. I'm talking about people in their circles, people that they cannot control. Those individuals who have not caused them harm. That's different from people who have seen narcissistic traits in someone that are very maligning, and that they have been in a relationship with them for a long time, and they have gone out of their way to cause them grief. Very different. Some people, we've all hurt someone and we weren't aware of it. We've all been hurt by someone. Perhaps they weren't aware that they harmed us or they hurt us. But guess what? When the communication happened, yeah, they apologized. There was the validation. There was the closure. Narcissists don't do those things. They harm, they injure, and they keep it moving. And perhaps they have their fingers crossed that they won't ever have to pay for it, or they will never have to answer to it. But that's part of their delusion of grandeur. They can do these things and they never have to pay, or they never have to answer to it. They never will suffer the consequences or experience the full extent of the consequences. So it's very important to make the commitment to your growth, to focus on your growth. Okay, so some people, they have experienced, unfortunately, the narcissist recruiting family members, recruiting family members and or enablers to perform or take on the dysfunctional role of a flying monkey. Unfortunately, a lot of us have experienced this. Okay? So, one of the best choices that I made in my life is to choose to be open to learning the valuable lessons of every relationship that I have. Narcissists can't touch that. They don't even do that. They lack the foresight. This is often why they do what? They repeat the offenses. They repeat the mistakes. They don't see it as mistakes. They don't see it as poor choices, but they tend to repeat this over and over, expecting what? The same result, which is the source supply. What's the definition of insanity? Doing something over and over or repetitiously, expecting different results. So the narcissist expects to continue to apply tactics that will get him or her the source supply. Various source supplies from various people. Okay, the pawns that I was talking about earlier, they tend to check people out to see if they can use them as pawns. So one of the things that I've learned is to demonstrate growth. That's one of the best revenge to take out on a narcissist. Demonstrate your growth and be open to learning the valuable lessons of every relationship. See, just like every life has purpose, every relationship has purpose. At the time that we have relationships, sometimes we don't understand we don't get it at the time, but later on we may get it. But some narcissists, they will often attempt a successful hoover when you continue to show signs of being primed for source supply. Okay? You may show signs. Some people they may show signs that the narcissist may find appealing for source supply. See, later down the line, they may try to hoover you back in for that reason. They think they can get more supply from you. They have moved on to new supply, right? But they may keep you in the back of their mind for later on, right? As disgusting as that sounds. But often when a person shows that they have prime, that they're primed for source supply, narcissists, they often will, again, they'll keep them on the list for later on when things start crumbling. Because every narcissist, I think they know they have only a matter of time before somebody's going to find them out. This is often why they want to keep many pawns in the game. So when they move from person to person to person, they may backtrack and try to see if they can get supply from other people that they got supply from before. But they know it's only a matter of time. They have a little bit of time before they're busted and found out, right? But delusions of grandeur, that doesn't stop them from trying to hoover people back in after they ghost them, after they discard. The narcissist will idealize people, right? That's part of the cycle. Idealization, okay? Discard. They move on to the discard. And then only to try to hoover people back in. I don't know about you guys, but that's, a person has to be quite delusional to think that they're going to be able to pull that off without any type of, having to deal with the laundry list. I'll put it like that. There's a laundry list of offenses that the narcissist often has to deal with, but they will avoid it at all costs, hoping that the other person that they're targeting for source supply again will also forget it, right? But when a person focuses on growing and thriving forward, they're not going to be hoovered back in very easily. So, try to keep in mind when your heart, try to keep in mind in your heart that when changes occur, there will be growing pains. This is not going to be easy. I can speak from experience. It is not easy. Once a person accepts that, that's not going to be the end of it. A person has to commit to their own growth and healing after narcissistic relationships. They have to make the adjustments. Yeah. Being the catalyst of a much needed change is not always that easy. Narcissists detest change. Right? So that they're not going to have their awakening. They're not going to transition. They're not going to have that moment. A lot of people now, they're talking about ascension. They're talking about staying, keeping the vibrations high. This is great. And again, I don't want to get ahead, because I'm going to share some tools with y'all. But a lot of people are focused on this, myself included, focusing on what you intend to manifest at this time. The narcissist is probably nowhere in that. How would they fit? Where do they fit? So a lot of people are talking about this now. This is great. A lot of people are talking about raising vibration, staying focused, manifesting, right? Being the greatest version of themselves, living their best life. This is good. The narcissist simply does not fit in any of that. They don't fit. Because anything a person has going, the narcissist will come in or swoop in, sometimes with their flying monkeys, and they will dismantle all of it. They'll attempt to dismantle. This is also why it's very important to commit to your own growth. Stay focused on your own growth and thriving. So it's going to be some ups and downs. There's going to be some challenges. But with change, that's the case. This is probably one of the reasons why narcissists detest change. They don't want to deal with their own pain, but they're projecting onto other people. So, the grip of codependency and the addiction of pathological narcissism can seem to bring on insurmountable challenges. Okay? Odds. right? There are more odds. There are more things to deal with. Some people think that all their life they're going to have to look over their shoulder. They're going to have to walk on eggshells because the narcissist, what? Influences fear. But that's not reality. The parallel reality that I was talking about earlier. Narcissists, due to the grooming process, they often will use the tactic of fear. They'll have people coming and going and don't know if they're coming or going, right? Topsy-turvy, turned upside down, inside out. Narcissists love to see people jumping through fiery hoops. They love it because it supplies them, and it feeds their strong sense of entitlement and control. So, if a person is dealing with loved ones who don't support them or this new you, this can seem like another insurmountable odds to beat. But it really isn't. When you're focused on your thriving forward, when you're focused on your healing, when you're focusing on your growth, see, it's going to become a little bit more natural to you to make choices that will bring about necessary change. You're going to feel more comfortable and confident in challenging yourself to live your best life. Okay, so if some people don't accept this new you, really, guys, look around what's going on today. You don't have time. You don't have time for that. That's added stress. Added stress. But acceptance is very powerful. It may be some challenges with that, but it's very powerful. Okay, now I'm going to get into the tools. All right, tool number 1, practice self-regulatory processes when triggered. Okay, so this is something, I've done some videos about this, by the way. So when you practice mindfulness, this is where practicing self-regulatory processes can come in. For instance, if you have a rubber band that you can wear around your wrist, and if you should become triggered by something the narcissist says and or does, you can just pop that rubber band against your wrist a little bit, okay, a couple of times. What would that do? That will help you to stay focused. That will help you to stay present should you become triggered. This also helps you to practice emotional discipline. You're less likely, when you become triggered, you're less likely to become reactionary. Instead, you're responding. Now, the narcissist may think that you're losing your marbles if you take the rubber band and just pop it against your wrist a couple of times. Who cares what they think, right? You're trying to salvage your sanity. You're maintaining control. Yeah, so practice self-regulatory processes. In other words, soothe yourself should you become triggered by something the narcissist says and or does. So when you practice mindfulness in this regard, it's very powerful. So for instance, when you pop the rubber band against your wrist, when you're practicing self-regulatory processes, the purpose of that is to keep you not only grounded, but present. It helps you to stay focused. You're less likely to feel overwhelmed or out of control, thinking the narcissist has total control. See, it's very hard when just in the middle of it, in the heat of an argument, when the narcissist may be practicing. That's not the right word. They may be pulling shenanigans, right? They may be using the narcissistic rage tactic. So, of course, that's going to be uncomfortable. They may be yelling. They may be literally threatening, someone. They may be knocking over things. They may be slamming doors. This is where practicing self-regulatory processing will come in and be very effective. Practicing mindfulness in this regard will help you to stay focused and keep you grounded and also keep you present. Therefore, you are in control. They may think they're in control, but no, you're in control. Because you have chosen to do what? Take your own emotions, okay? And, stay in control. They're not in control of your emotions. You are. You're practicing that type of discipline. You're practicing emotional discipline. Tool number 2, take steps to try something new in order to create new energy. Some people don't think you can create new energy. Yes, you can. You can release energy, transmute energy in order to create new energy. Our bodies remember. Our bodies record everything. Okay? So this is also why a person can become triggered when the narcissist is around. It can be an odor or a scent or an aroma that can trigger a person about a narcissist. It can be something they say. It can be the tone of their voice. It can be some key words that he or she may use. That's the neuro-linguistic programming or the mind games that they may play in order to spellbound somebody or to keep somebody under their spell. Narcissists, again, they have a big trick bag of abracadabras. This does not mean that they're more powerful and bigger than you. No, not at all. But a person can create new energy when they are putting themselves in a situation whereas their bodies are recording the experiences that they like, such as going to the park, going to the beach, walking your dog, getting a pet, having pets around, something that's pleasant. Your body is recording this. Therefore, you're creating new energy. You're creating new experiences, creating new memories that are very pleasant. The narcissist cannot take that away from you. So take steps to try something new. Go to some sort of seminar or, a class, or become more financially literate, or go to an art class, something, right? Try something new every day. Take the different route to work or to school or wherever you may go throughout the day. Change it up a little bit. Rearrange some furniture in your house. Do some arts and crafts or, something. Do something new. This will also help you to build confidence in trying something new or having new relationships, because the body remembers. So it's like you're replacing the old memories that are painful with new memories that are pleasant. The narcissist will have to work very hard to break that down or to dismantle that. So the whole time that they're thinking they're grooming you for more soul supply, you're growing, you're thriving. Yeah, you survived already. Now you're thriving. So celebrate that. Tool number 3, seek out the contrast whenever you feel targeted by narcissistic behaviors, attitudes, and environmental factors. I touched on that before. The environmental factors can show up in the workforce or in any group. The narcissistic behaviors can show up there. There are just some environments that are like cesspools or breeding grounds for narcissistic behaviors and attitudes. Okay, we can think of a few. All right, so seek out the contrast. What does the contrast do? It will provide you peace of mind, harmony, and balance. So when you seek out the contrast, just like comparing apples to oranges, narcissists can be that rotten apple, right? And the orange, which is juicy, full of nutrition, can be all of those relationships that you have that are positive. All the interactions that you have that are positive. You may have met somebody out today, when you were out today or tonight. You had a great conversation. The conversation may have lasted, a couple of minutes, and then it was over. But you can count that as a positive relationship, interaction. You two, for 2 minutes, you were relating. You related to another person. They related to you. You resonated with each other. If it was only just for 2 minutes, who cares? Count that as a positive relationship, a positive interaction. The narcissist cannot do anything about that. They can't control that. You're seeking the contrast. In other words, everything that does not remind you of narcissistic codependent relationships, every encounter that doesn't feel like you're being violated or had or played. That's the contrast. And this is very important, because you don't want to look around your world, not the world, your world, and think that there's only narcissists there. Because more than likely that's not the case. Sometimes we have to, step outside the box sometimes. Sometimes we have to be willing to go that extra step. We have to be willing and open to look or seeking out anything in life that does not remind us of narcissistic codependent relationships, that has nothing to do with narcissists. We have to do this. This is something I do all the time. I don't mind sharing that. This is something that keeps me focused on what? Thriving forward, growing, expanding. All right, so, seek out the contrast. It's there. Especially if in your world, if you're looking around and you are so convinced or you're afraid that only narcissists are there, and this is this is understandable and overstandable. It's understandable when you actually live with people who may have narcissistic traits that are very maligning, okay, and may be very unhealthy for you. But look for the contrast anyway. I had to do this one time in my life, dealing with a group of individuals, and there were a couple of people in that group that showed narcissistic traits. They showed, So it was like, all right, I need to look for the contrast. So whenever you're dealing with that group, you can deal a lot better because you have what? The contrast. You know somebody who's not narcissistic. You experience your life, whereas there's no trace of narcissism. It's there. You just got to look for it. You got to be proactive in your life that way. Sometimes, like I say, it starts in the mind, not the behind. Some people, they think that the answer is just to physically get away from the narcissist. And yet, granted, yes, it can be. But some people don't move away from that. They don't thrive forward past the narcissistic codependent relationship, even though they're physically away from the relationship, because they didn't, again, it doesn't start in the behind, it starts in the mind. They didn't release the energy of that relationship. They didn't clear it out. So even though it may have been years, they may have moved thousands of miles away from the situation, it's still with them because they didn't clear it out. That's when you release that energy that's very heavy. It doesn't serve you anymore, but it will stick around if you let it. So seek the contrast. It's all around you. Don't take my word for it. Try it. Don't take my word for it. Just try it. Seek that contrast. It is around you. Even if you work with people who have narcissistic traits and you go home and there are people with narcissistic traits, or your family, or somebody in your family. Yes, it's still important to seek the contrast. It's there. It gives you peace of mind, balance, and harmony. Tool number 4, leave a narcissist powerless by practicing emotional discipline rather than becoming reactionary. Okay, I touched on that before, right? So when you leave a narcissist powerless, it's because you're not giving them the fight. You're not engaging in their shenanigans. You're not co-signing anything. They have an imaginary contract for everybody that they target for source supply. But guess what? Everybody's not going to co-sign. Everybody's not going to fulfill that imaginary contract. What are the terms of the contract? Something to think about. Because believe it or not, the clause is there. The little, when people talk about the contracts, they had the little clause at the bottom. A lot of people, especially if the narcissist is charming enough, if they're Svengali enough, right? They're beguiling enough, a person won't even read the fine print at the bottom. They won't read the clause to the imaginary contract. But a lot of people won't do this because they don't even know about the imaginary contract. So it's very, like I said, A narcissist, sometimes they can have a serpentine way about the things that they do. They have a serpentine way or serpentine methods of obtaining narcissistic supply, or the source supply. Sometimes, covert narcissists, or they have covert means of obtaining the source supply. A covert narcissist, I think they have the coldest play when it comes down to obtaining source supply. All right, so gonna get ready to wrap this up, and thank goodness it didn't storm too badly. Just I still hear a little bit of thundering in the background, but I don't know how it's looking where you guys are. But let's see here. Okay. Yes. Now, I want to know, I probably should have asked this before. I just jumped right on in tonight. Were you guys able to see the slide presentation? But even if you weren't, the link is in the chat. Okay, this is just something, if you all want to look at it a little bit later. But let's see. I hope you all were able to see the slide. If not, it's in the description box, and it's also in the chat. Okay. Yeah. All right, I want to welcome everybody again while we wrap this up. Welcome to the chat, and I hope you all have been enjoying this. I hope you got something out of it. I didn't want to be too long with this tonight, for one thing because of the storm, but also because I got a couple of things I have to take care of tonight before I get some sleep. And I just wanted to come on, though, and get this message out to you all. So, I want you all to share some of your thoughts about what was discussed tonight. Before we wrap this up, I would really love to know if there's something that really pointed out, that really stood out to you all that I said in the stream tonight. Welcome to the live stream, Ellie Wynn. Thank you so much. Thanks for this excellent live stream. Saw the slide show to, okay, I believe, can double check later. Okay, thank you, Ellie. Let's see who else is here. Nathan Ventry says they benefit from hurting others. Yep, this is true. What else? They wanted full control. Ellie Wynn says they master the duping delight process to aid their fear-making tactics. Yeah, it's very interesting how narcissists, they often like to flip the script as well as change the script once they feel threatened or their false self-images are threatened. I see Ellie Wynn says, good advice. Okay, welcome to the live stream, Dawn. Welcome, welcome. Okay. I said, what stands out is look for the contrast. Okay, great. Yeah, because this is something that has helped me out tremendously, looking for the contrast, because it's very easy to get caught up in what's going on. Again, this is just a natural reaction to something that's going on that may not feel so natural, such as the narcissistic codependent relationship. Okay. So Dawn says, I feel like they could make you feel porous. Yeah, absolutely. They can, when they start, I was talking about earlier, the parallel reality. They're experiencing the relationship in one way, and you are experiencing it in another way. And this can kind of make people question their reality as well as their sanity. So Nick D say they lack morals. Yeah, very often. But when you look at the shenanigans that they often will pull in order to obtain source supply control or dominance, it definitely looks like they are lacking morals, integrity, honesty, and a whole host of, characteristics that most people find positive and they're looking for in relationships with other people. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and I want to thank everybody again for joining me tonight. Now, if you have questions, we can go ahead and I'll answer a couple of questions if you guys have anything. But otherwise, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Any questions? Any questions? No? Okay. All right. Okay, guys. Again, thank you so much for joining me tonight, and stay tuned for more live streams coming up. Of course, stay tuned for more content. Now, if you all are not getting all of the notifications, please let me know. If you do not have my email, also let me know. But in all the videos, I pretty much give out the email. They're in the description box of every video. Okay, so I just want to make sure you all are getting the content that are coming out every week. Okay, guys. Doesn't look like there's any questions. No questions. Okay. All right. Doesn't look like anybody have any questions. One more time. Anybody has any questions? Okay, wait a minute. I think I just saw one. Mr. Lost One now. Okay. Do narcissists act like they are healed, or do they know what it takes to heal? Well, great question, but they tend to simulate an authentic emotion. In other words, they're not actually, they're pretending a lot. They put on a lot. So when we think about the three masks that they often have, victim, right? That's the false self-image. Every false self-image that they has, there's a mask assigned to it. So victim, saint, okay? A person who's a martyr. So more than likely, when you take that into account, more than likely they're acting like they're healed, okay? But when they act like that, they often don't know what it takes to heal. But from my own experience, what I have found is that sometimes they may know what to do in the situation, but they will withhold that. In other words, they may know that apologies are rendered, or the apology is the order of the day, or that they should talk to you about or be open to resolving an issue. So more than likely, they're pretending that they are healed. I mean, they're very deceptive. So they can pull that off with some people, not everybody. Like, say, a highly intuitive, empathic person, they may be able to tell that the narcissist is putting on. They may act like that they're healed, but they're not. But that goes right into the mask, a lot of the masks that they wear. They don't want to be found out, but when the mask starts to crack and bust and fall apart, then they want to shape shift. This is often why they will pretend sometimes to be healed. And sometimes they really don't know what it takes, but sometimes they do know what it takes in order to start the process. In other words, they may know that they harmed someone, but they don't want to apologize. That's where the ego comes in. They don't want to resolve the issue because it doesn't leave them with any supply. This is often why they like to leave things unsaid and undone from relationship to relationship, even a family situation, a third party situation. Narcissists, they often like to come in and just leave things unsaid and undone that will actually help everyone involved to heal, not just them, but everyone. Sometimes, depending on the narcissist you're dealing with, they may know some things, but then if they feel like it's not going to give them the supply, if they think it's not going to give them the supply, then they will turn from it. They will withhold. But if it's going to get them the supply, then they will pretend like they're healed. They will pretend like they have remorse. They often have a complex consciousness, not a guilty conscience. Yeah, they often don't have a guilty conscience. they often have a guilty complex. Because when they have a guilty complex, that just means they can just blow it off. They can just throw it off. But a guilty conscience means they have to have a conscience first. Then more than likely they will do what it takes to heal. And everyone else in the relationship will also benefit as well, because everybody is growing together. But when you're dealing with a narcissist, 9 out of 10 chances you're going to find out before it's all said and done, it's best to find the good in the goodbye. In other words, everybody is going to have to grow in different directions for the good of all. So unfortunately, that's usually how it turns out when we're dealing with narcissists. Hope I answered your question. I know it was long and drawn out, but sometimes they will pretend to heal, and sometimes they will act like they don't know what it takes to resolve issues and to come to peace with other people, because it doesn't get them the supply that they want. So, okay, guys. Anything else? Any other questions? No? All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. And again, thank you so much. You say, okay. Yeah, there we go. All right. Okay. Thank you guys so much. And stay tuned for another live stream. And of course, stay tuned for more videos coming up. And don't forget, I do have a podcast on Spotify. So I hope you guys have been listening to that. Okay. All right. Till next time, y'all take care.